right that football gets to come back first.
Yeah, it's morally ethics still have to be into consideration, but looking at it from a player standpoint, what do you make of the debate over how long it'll take for a team to get ready? I mean, I've heard 6 weeks thrown out. I've heard 8 weeks thrown out. I've heard 4 weeks thrown out. It's like,
Yeah, I mean,
what's
the
up with
current
the different numbers?
the current plan right now, obviously, or not obviously, sorry, the current plan as of right now, it's not obvious at all. They're not being very obvious about any of it. The current plan, as to my understanding at the moment, is that they're going to have a 2-week ramp up period. So all teams get this 2-week period to like kind of get into conditioning shape. And then I believe right now it's at a 4-week period of 20-hour practices, 20 hours of practice a week, sorry, where these players then get to practice with like full contact or slightly more contact than they would have under previous quarantine social distancing protocols. And these week-long the decision on how long these weeks need to extend for them to return to play is going to be one of the most debated things I think that comes up in this discussion that happens tomorrow, mostly just because like some schools, every school in Oregon, every school in California, they're still waiting on their local authorities to release them to return to play. They've gotten federal approval, they've gotten state approval, and now they're just waiting for locals. And so then they're approaching this crux where they're like, at what point is it fair that schools in Washington, the Utah, Arizona schools, what is fair or what makes it fair that they've had all of this practicing already because their state and local governments have said it's okay, and they get that 2-week, 4-week ramp up to a October 31st start date or November 7th start date? What distinguishes them from the California and Oregon schools, who haven't yet returned to like even semi-normal practices due to the circumstances out of their control?
Yeah, I think that's a big talking point on the disadvantages that California schools might have, especially at the start of the year. Maybe they'll look much more sluggish because they truly, I mean, a lot of the Stanford students, they were all just sent home because they were told we're not going to be playing again until December, January. So they're just now getting back, and then they'll just be starting practice with their team when, like you said, Arizona schools, mountain schools, and Washington schools, we've been kind of working out a team. So that's a key point that'll probably be brought up and debated upon. But as far as like the start date, are you thinking it'll be October 31st, November 7th, or what's your way you're leaning?
They both definitely present equally interesting opportunities for the season as it goes on. A October 31st start date is going to give you a week and a half extra if we want to keep the bowl games, the championships, the interconference games on schedule and to go as planned. I'm honestly going to call a bit of a left field ball here and say that they're going to be pushing those bowl games back. I don't think they're going to be ready to play those in the same time in December. Like that time frame is just not going to work. I mean, you've heard of Murphy's Law or Muffrey's Law, however people want to call it, where anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And with how 2020 is going, I mean, everybody's heard it. I've heard it too much already. I'm expecting it to get worse. I don't think things are going to get. I don't think things are going to stay better as is right now. I think we're going to hit another valley or two before we eventually get out of this terrible slump that the country's in.
Yeah, so you're leaning towards probably a later start, you're thinking?
I'm actually, I'd rather prefer a November 7th start date. I think they're going to go with a October 31st start date. I firmly believe that with all of the financial struggles, the health issues, and the immense outside pressure coming in on these guys making these decisions, they're going to push for the October 31st start date. They're going to get it, and then they're going to end up either having to push back bowl games. Well, I mean, I was going to just give you all 3 options. That doesn't really count. But then, yeah, one of 3 things are going to happen. They're going to push the bowl games back. They're going to keep them as is, or they're going to get rid of them completely for this year. Because, I mean, we're already with a November 7th start date, as you know, like we're going to be down to a really weird modified 6-week schedule. And that doesn't even include all 12 teams. Like all 12 teams in the Pac-12 won't get to play in that 6-week schedule against each other. And even at a 6-week schedule with just 6 teams, I mean, that doesn't even really make sense. With 6 teams in the Pac-12, we're not really a Pac-12 anymore.
Yeah, I think there's no way that they would continue on with just 6 teams, but I could actually see a way that they stagger the starts with main schools that have been practicing, like the Arizona schools, the mountain schools, maybe the Washington schools, starting that October 31st, and then giving those California schools an practice, and then them starting up in November. 7th, but I think that would then bring up issues later on with how many games each team plays. I think truly the most likely outcome is what you said with the October 31st start. And then you have to really wonder about the schedule.